Welcome into Vandy on SI. I'm Joey Dwyer. He's Graham Bacco. In the moments prior to our trip to Tuscaloosa, Graham's about to head out. I'm leaving tonight. Big weekend for Vanderbilt football, one of its biggest in recent memory. I don't know that I'm willing to say it's the biggest, because if they lose, I don't think there's a whole lot of downside here. But Graham, if they win, this thing could explode. First, we'll take it day by day. Clark Lee just spoke to the media for the last time. I was talking to Cedric Alexander for a story that hoping you'll see tomorrow, but Graham was in there with Clark Lee. Graham, what did you learn particularly about the status of Marlon Jones, who has been declared out by the SEC availability report?
Yeah, so it's a very quick, only like a 2-minute press conference. So Marlon Jones is dealing with a hamstring injury. Clark Lee said that it's going to take a little bit of time for him to recover from that, but with the bye week coming up, Clark Lee said he is hoping that Marlon Jones should be back after the bye week. As for Mark Davis, Clark Lee said it's a tendonitis issue and that it's just a day-to-day type of thing. So while Davis is out this week, he should be back, you would think, after the bye week. And then I had asked them about Alabama's defense. You got Quay Russaw out, you got Jermarian Latham out, and James Smith, one of their other defensive starters, out for the first half due to that targeting play last week against Georgia. I asked him about his offense. Could they possibly take advantage of that? And he's like, look, like Alabama, their defense is talented, of course, which they are, and of course they're very deep. So he said it's not really going to have too much of an effect in the change of course of plan. That plan should stay the same for that. But I think you got to still think though. Alabama's run defense, Georgia sort of gassed them last week. So you got to think, with those two guys out and a third guy out for the first half, you got to think like Vanderbilt, their offense, if they can get their run game going, they can really do some damage.
Sure. Clark Lee's always talked about run to win. Done a multitude of radio hits in the Tuscaloosa area. Actually, probably should have spent some of that time doing stuff for the channel instead. But we talked a lot about throughout the week. 227 yards for Georgia on the ground against Alabama. Vanderbilt wants to establish the run and kind of build its offense off of that. I think Alabama's got a good cornerback room. I think you'd agree with that. But I don't know if that's necessarily the X factor here. I think Vanderbilt's able to do enough on the perimeter to maybe put those guys in positions where they got to tackle in the open field, and maybe that tests them a little bit more than it would be if Vanderbilt was trying to go 10 or 15 yards down the field every time. I think the running game is a big catalyst, though. If you want to open up the downfield passing game and really test those corners and put them in tougher positions, Cedric Alexander's got to get going. MK Young's got to get going. Maybe it's a James L. Lassiter carry. I think that's the real key here, and I haven't seen any reason from Vanderbilt's offensive line to indicate that they won't be able to open some holes here.
Yeah, I mean, and you also got to remember, like, week one, Alabama lost to Florida State, who sort of runs a similar type of quarterback with Tommy Castellanos, similar type of offensive game plan as well. So, you got to think, again, like, if Vanderbilt, if they can get this run game going, and maybe, again, like you mentioned, maybe Alexander or MK Young or James L. Lassiter, if one of them can just pop one open, like, in this running game, maybe Pavia gets in the run game involved, starts pitching it out to his backs or do some RPO action, like, this Vanderbilt offense can really do some damage against an Alabama defense that is deep but has a liability in the run defense. And if you are able to get the run game going, it could set the quarterbacks on Alabama the experience. Zabian Brown, you got Keon Sabb, you got those guys out in the secondary that Pavia, if they're able to get the run game going, could expose them deep down the field. Possibly to Junior Sherrill, or if Trey Richardson with his speed is able to get down the field, we'll see.
Yeah, the good thing about Vanderbilt's offense against Alabama, I think, is those corners who are really talented. We're not relying on their coverage skills on Saturday. I think what we're looking at is to say, are they able to defend in space? Are they able to bring down guys in the open field? And that's a taller task than maybe covering a Trey Richardson or a Junior Sherrill, who are both good receivers, but I think Alabama's seen better. Another thing, though, that we've got to know, and I think this is maybe the X factor for Vanderbilt, cornerback play. I mean, Ryan Williams, maybe the most talented receiver in the country, Isaiah Horton, Jeremy Bernard, three guys who I think could be NFL players at some point. Vanderbilt's corners really got to answer the call, Graham.
Yeah, no question. And Clark Lee, he talked about it as an answer to a question back on Tuesday, where he's like, look, in terms of these dig routes, like Alabama, they go deeper on the dig routes, figure 16, 18 yards downfield instead of like 12 to 14 yards. So he was saying, like, look, man, we got to all be on the same page. We got to play 11 connected, because, again, you can't, like Clark Lee also said, there's not just one guy where if you take him away, then you're golden, right? I mean, there's so many weapons all around with Ty Simpson, who could be a Heisman candidate, Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton. I mean, Jeremy Bernard, and also we saw Lotzier Brooks against Georgia, so you could have a fourth receiver involved in the Alabama offense. So this Alabama offense boasts of talent, but I think in terms of being on the same page in this, we talk about the experience and the depth of this Vanderbilt defense. This is a huge test in terms of how much are they up to the task, but they've shown and proven once they get settled into the games this year, they've been able to get stops at critical times.
For sure. I think Vanderbilt's defense is still a big question. To me, obviously had a great first couple weeks, and I think we kind of assumed that was their identity, but man, this is a tough offense for them. I think this is one of the tougher ones they'll face all year.
Could be the best one they face all year.
Probably, and they don't turn it over, which is another big deal too. I think the big things are, can Vanderbilt hit the explosive? Can Vanderbilt force the explosive by forcing a turnover and maybe doing what it did last year with Brandon Fontenette and the pick six? But Graham, I think most of all, I think Vanderbilt's got to win this game in a similar way to what it did last year, where it's not quite a high-powered offense as much as it is you're controlling the tempo and you're kind of keeping the ball out of Alabama's hands. You're not turning it over. Margin's going to be small again, and Clark Lee's talked about how the margins don't have to be as small as they've been in past years, but Saturday feels like the margin's pretty small and you can't make a whole lot of mistakes. You got to be pretty precise. That's kind of my main takeaway heading into Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the best ways to slow down a high-powered offense is just keep them on the field or keep them off the field. So if you're able to do similar to what you did last year, where if you're able to get in these third and short, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 type of scenarios, and able to convert just about every one of them, it feels like. And then I feel like if you're also able to steal points in some way as well, whether it be a block punt, that sets up a short field or a return for a touchdown or a defensive touchdown, you got to steal points and create short fields for your team somehow, some way, and force Alabama to get at least one turnover, because again, this Alabama offense has not turned over the ball yet once this year, which is an unbelievable stat. But yeah, I think keeping them, the Vanderbilt offense, keeping the Alabama offense off the field by third and short conversions, and just using the clock and just getting the run game going, stealing points somehow.
Grant, it's got to be almost a perfect game for Vanderbilt to win on Saturday, and I think Alabama's better than people realize. I think that's maybe where that's coming from more than anything about Vanderbilt. But man, it's going to be tough. You're going into an environment where you're facing College Game Day and ABC. Everybody's there. Everybody's out, ready to go. But man, Graham, it's going to be a big game for Vanderbilt, and if it's going to win, it's got to bring it.
Yeah, I mean, man, what a crazy scenario that I don't think anyone would have thought at the start of the season, where you not only do you have a ranked matchup between Vanderbilt and Alabama, but you have a ranked matchup on College Game Day between Vanderbilt and Alabama. I mean, the eyes of the nation are going to be on Vanderbilt and Alabama this weekend, midday, 2:30 Central Time, national TV. I mean, well, I don't know what better you could ask for, and I'm sure this team is very excited, very pumped up about the chance to possibly play spoiler to Alabama's home crowd.
Sure, you can't avoid it, Grant.
Right.
I think if you're a college football fan in America this weekend, you maybe could not pay attention to this game. You're going to see the score. You're going to see what Vanderbilt did, especially if Vanderbilt wins. Big weekend for Vanderbilt football. As Graham and I head to Tuscaloosa in a few minutes, maybe why we cut it a little bit short. Time to get on the road. Road Warriors, the grittiest outlet on the beat. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you maybe tomorrow. I think there will be some sort of College Game Day event. If not, well, then I'm sleeping in my own bed tonight. But we'll see from there. Thank you guys for watching. God bless. We'll talk soon. Peace.